Benjamin Netanyahu steps out of his motorcade, greeted by a wall of flashing cameras and the low hum of reporters' voices outside the Tel Aviv District Court. The Israeli Prime Minister, visibly composed yet carrying the unmistakable weight of years-long legal battles, walks toward the courthouse entrance for what many are calling the defining moment of his political career. Inside, the atmosphere is taut. Supporters and critics stand separated by metal barriers, their chants echoing down the marble corridors. To his allies, Netanyahu remains a symbol of Israel's strength, a leader persecuted by what they call a politicized judiciary. To his opponents, he embodies a crisis of integrity at the heart of Israeli democracy, a man accused of placing personal power above public trust. This is the latest hearing in a trial that has stretched on for years, a saga of allegations and counterclaims that has divided Israel's public sphere like few others. The charges, bribery, fraud, and breach of trust, stem from three separate cases known by their coded names: Case 1000, Case 2000, and Case 4000. Each represents a different strand of alleged corruption: gifts from wealthy businessmen, alleged deals with media executives, and suspected favoritism in regulatory decisions that benefited corporate allies. But today's proceedings unfold under a new and highly unusual twist. Just hours earlier, US President Donald Trump, addressing the Israeli parliament during his historic visit, made a stunning suggestion that Netanyahu should be granted a presidential pardon. His words drew immediate reaction. Prime Minister Netanyahu has given so much to this nation, Trump told lawmakers, his tone both emphatic and conciliatory. Perhaps it is time Israel shows him the same grace he has shown the world. The comment, broadcast live, sent shockwaves through Israel's political class. It's rare enough for an American president to comment on an ally's domestic legal matters, but to publicly advocate clemency for a sitting prime minister facing trial is virtually unprecedented. Within minutes, Israeli newsrooms and political talk shows lit up with debate. Was Trump interfering in Israel's judicial independence, or merely voicing a sentiment shared quietly by many of Netanyahu's backers? Outside the courthouse, demonstrators gathered in two distinct camps. One side waved Israeli flags and signs reading "Justice for Bibi," using the Prime Minister's nickname. "He's our protector," says one supporter. "They're trying to remove him through the courts because they can't beat him in elections." Just across the street, anti-corruption protesters held banners declaring "No one above the law." For them, Trump's remarks were an insult to the rule of law, a foreign intrusion into Israel's most sensitive democratic process. Inside, Netanyahu took his seat beside his legal team, expression unreadable. This is not his first appearance in the courtroom, but the timing, so soon after Trump's statement, makes it one of the most politically charged. The prosecution continued to outline evidence related to alleged exchanges of favors for positive media coverage, while defense lawyers argued that the entire case was a political witch hunt fueled by Netanyahu's opponents. For Israel, this moment carries echoes of history. Few democratic nations have seen a sitting leader stand trial while simultaneously navigating complex foreign alliances and domestic divisions. For many Israelis, Netanyahu's case is no longer just about corruption. It has become a referendum on what kind of country Israel wants to be, one defined by accountability or one guided by loyalty to a long-serving leader who shaped the nation's modern identity. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Trump's intervention is seen as part of his broader Middle East strategy, one built on personal diplomacy and symbolic gestures. His visit to Jerusalem, marked by sweeping rhetoric and headline-grabbing moments, reflects both his flair for political theatre and his deep ties to Israel's right-wing establishment. "Bibi is a great man," Trump said earlier in his speech, "and great men should not be torn down by politics." The courtroom, however, follows its own rules, immune, at least in theory, to political theatre. Over the next several hours, the judges and lawyers delved into technical testimony, emails, text messages, corporate communications, all dissected line by line. Yet outside, the real drama was unfolding on television screens, in cafes, and on social media. The question dominating every conversation: would Israel's justice system withstand the political pressure now amplified by Trump's comments? By early afternoon, Netanyahu exited the courtroom, surrounded by bodyguards and reporters pressing for a reaction. He didn't answer, but his brief wave to the crowd was enough to ignite speculation. He looked confident, one supporter said. He knows history is on his side. Critics, however, saw something else, a leader buying time, hoping global attention might soften the public's resolve for justice. The implications go beyond the courtroom. Netanyahu's trial coincides with Israel's fragile ceasefire, with Hamas, an economic recovery effort in Gaza, and delicate negotiations involving Trump's proposed Gaza Recovery Compact. Every headline from Tel Aviv ripples into broader geopolitical currents. Trump's pardon suggestion, though symbolic, could influence Israel's domestic politics and foreign partnerships alike, particularly as right-wing allies rally behind Netanyahu in what they now frame as a campaign against judicial overreach. Legal experts were quick to respond. Former Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit, who authorized Netanyahu's indictment, warned that a pardon before a verdict would be catastrophic to public trust. Opposition leader Yair Lapid called Trump's statement an act of disrespect toward Israel's democracy, adding that even a friend has no right to interfere with our institutions. Yet others, including members of Netanyahu's Likud party, praised Trump's courage to speak truth to hypocrisy. In Tel Aviv's bustling cafes, conversation is split, just as it has been for years. He's done more for Israel than anyone, says one man sipping espresso. If Trump says he deserves grace, who are we to disagree? Across the table, another replies sharply, grace is for the innocent. He should face the law like any citizen. As the day ends, the courthouse empties, but the political reverberations are only beginning. Israeli analysts predict that Trump's remark could reframe Netanyahu's narrative from a defendant to a statesman wronged by his own system. In an age of global populism, where leaders often cast themselves as victims of bureaucracy, the image of Trump and Netanyahu as embattled allies fighting the deep state plays well to certain audiences, both in Washington and Jerusalem. Still, for many Israelis, the trial remains a moral test. If he is innocent, let him prove it, says Rivka Shalev, a teacher holding a small placard outside the courthouse. But if we start pardoning the powerful before justice speaks, then what's left of democracy? By nightfall, Netanyahu's convoy departs under flashing lights, his image flickering across television screens nationwide. The commentary continues. Legal experts, politicians, former judges, all debating whether Trump's words were diplomacy or disruption. One anchor sums it up. Today was not just another hearing. It was a collision between law and politics, between loyalty and justice, played out under the global spotlight. And as Israel heads into another uncertain week, one thing is clear. Benjamin Netanyahu's trial is no longer confined to the courtroom. It has become a mirror reflecting the nation's deepest divisions between past and future, between law and loyalty, between justice and the politics of power.